Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that is featured on the channel once before. So the last beer that I had from these guys was very nice, very true to style, so I have to say I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it carries on in the same vein, hopefully it's another nice beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to go to a little place called Surte, to the north of Gothenburg, Göteborg, up there on the Swedish west coast, and we're going to have a look at my second beer from Beerium Kraftölsbryggeri. So this particular beer is called Local Memory. It comes in at 5.3% ABV, and this one is an American Pale Ale. So yeah, really curious to see what this one has in store for us. I don't get to review all that many Pale Ales on the channel. You don't find all that many of them here in Sweden, to be honest. I think there must be some kind of tax reason, but most breweries that put their beers into Systembolaget tend to brew IPAs rather than Pale Ales, of course. But yeah, I'm curious to see how this one turns out, because I've been enjoying some of the lower ABV IPAs that I've had in recent times actually. So yeah, this beer was very kindly sent to me as well by Eric from the brewery. The last review I did from these guys was of the black IPA. If my memory serves me correctly, the name of that was Renegade Priest, and I thought that was really nice, and having seen that review, Eric sent me a couple of their other beers to take a look at. So big thank you to Eric for making this review and the other ones that will come later on possible. So I hope you guys enjoy these. I'm certainly curious to see what some of their lighter beers have in store for us. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then, a 5.3% American Pale Ale. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Beerium Kraftölsbryggeri before, and we will no doubt add more to that list in the near future. We've got a few other beers to look at over the next little while, as I said, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Beerium Kraftölsbryggeri then. Let's have a look at this. So Beerium, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Surte, to the north of Gothenburg, and this company was founded back in 2018, so they're still relatively new on the scene. But the brewery has 7 owners. This is Martin Polno, Fredrik Reinholdsson, Matthias Jidluf, Erik Höglund, Marcelo Mille, Malte Hed, and also Emil Stashang as well. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. I don't know how you pronounce the X in Swedish, come to think of it. Need to look at that. But yeah, Surte is actually part of Ale municipality, and they wanted to use Ale in the name originally, and Ale is spelt like A-L-E, as in ale in English. But the authorities stopped them from doing this, even though other breweries had used the municipality names in their titles. And this was a bit strange actually, but the original idea was that the brewery would be called Ale Kraftölsbryggeri. So yeah, strange. But the brewery itself is based in an old power station in Ale, which closed back in 1978, and they started off with a 200-litre brewery, and they've gradually added more tanks to this to up their fermentation capacity. But in April of 2019, they opened their tasting bar at the brewery, which was called Beerium, and they've also started a members club as well, which they're hoping will help them invest further in the brewery's infrastructure. In March of 2021, though, they announced a partnership with Lilla Edit Bryggeri to form a new production company, which is called Jutta Älvdalens Brygghus. And the plan is that this is going to be simply a production company, and it's going to be equipped with a 1,000-litre brew kit, and the first brews have taken place there from what I understand. The first brews took place in November of 2021, but both breweries will keep their other breweries to produce smaller batches, but this one will be used, the bigger brewery will be used for their kind of regular releases at Systembolaget, of course. But as of June 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 50 different kinds of beers, and they do seem to be quite prolific actually. So yeah, quite cool actually, these guys. Really interesting, and I was impressed with how kind of authentic their I was impressed with how authentic the black IPA was, so I'm really hoping that this one carries on in the same vein as that. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Beerium for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. I'll let you just have a little look at the artwork on this before we open up. As you can see, there's a lovely big bearded man on the front of this with his brain kind of opened up and showing you all the different parts and things like that. But yeah, I actually wonder if this is Eric, because from what I remember of Eric's profile picture through Messenger, he was, you know, he had quite a fabulous beard, I have to say. But yeah, it tells you on the side here that this one has Cascade, Centennial, Mosaic and Simcoe in it, so lovely American hops in there. Cascade, of course, the classic American one, 8% alpha acid, lovely kind of grapefruity notes and a bit of a figgy character. I always find Centennial, about 12% alpha acid, I think, and that's usually a big kind of lemony hit. Mosaic, 14% alpha acid, big juicy tangerines, and then Simcoe, about 12% alpha acid. That tends to be a nice sort of how do we say, a sort of more soft passion fruity quality. But yeah, it tells you a little bit about the beer on the side here. So it says, local memory is an American pale ale with balanced flavours of soft bitterness and prolonged taste impressions, I guess we could say. But the base beer is the base of the beer is pale ale malt that is accentuated with caramel malt, which gives a full and complete hoppy, which helps complement a full and complete hoppy taste. The caramel malt has even given the beer a deep orange colour. The local memory contains 4 types of American hops that give the aroma with clear notes of oranges, grapefruits and stone fruits. So it says here this complementary with local memory are light, but it's a light but tasty American pale ale that works well with many different types of food. And it's also a beer that you can just drink on its own, completely on its own. So yeah, paraphrasing a couple of those things in there, but yeah, that's just how it goes when we're doing reviews. Don't have time to go into mad levels of depth, but there you can see, plain silver bottle cap on this one, 33 centilitre, 330 milliliter bottle, this one, 5.3%. So let's crack it open and see how we get on. I'm very curious to see what this is going to have in store for us. So it's a little bit sticky on the glass there, but yeah, let's get this out into the glass and see how we go. As I say, not too many pale ales in Systembolaget these days, but yeah. Just a tiny little bit of sediment on the bottom of this one as well, which is kind of cool. So it definitely looks a little bit more like a sort of West Coasty type pale ale than New England, to be quite honest with you. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, looks very, very nice. So if we shine the light through this beer, the colour is most definitely a nice kind of deep amber. You can see the head on this is about somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. That's going to fade away to be a very nice thin sort of foamy layer. There's a nice kind of thicker ring around the edge of the glass there. But yeah, it certainly looks very nice, this one. But as you can see, lovely rich amber colour, as they were kind of saying on the bottle. It's the malt that gives it the colour, of course. There's a few things that affect the colour of your beer. One, the type of malts that you use, that determines the magnitude of your colours normally. 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, thus you get a darker colour of beer. A pale ale like this is probably going to undergo a wort boil of like 60 to 90 minutes. And then any adjuncts or barrel aging will affect that too, but that's not often the case when it comes to IPAs, of course. But yeah, it certainly looks the part, this one. In terms of appearance, it certainly looks more, pardon me, like a sort of West Coasty type IPA than a type pale ale than a New England, of course. And with the hops that are in it, I think this might be a little bit more sort of old school, so to speak. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But I mean, overall, it looks very, very nice. So yeah, I think we can take a look at the aroma of this one. Nothing particularly surprising about the appearance. So it's aroma time then. Let's go for it. Yeah, this is a bit more. It is more old school, this one. More of a kind of West Coasty type pale ale, this. Absolutely. You can kind of tell that from straight away, to be quite honest with you. Especially when they're talking about caramel and things like that. But yeah, this is very nice. It's a little trip down memory lane, this one, if you like. So yeah, backbone of this beer, you can smell a little bit of that kind of slightly wholemeally, brown bready bread crust coming out of it, which is great. You do get a bit of a more kind of straight up bready character in there as well. 1 or 2 little elements of white bread, I would say also. You can smell a straight up sweet caramel, maybe even a little touch of a lighter honey almost, but definitely some kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity elements to the malt base as well. These are all things that you would expect of this style as well, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, the more that you smell of it, the more it kind of mellows out and smoothens out a little bit, and you also start to get these nice kind of oily characters out of the beer as well. You start to get you get more of a kind of oily character from the brown sugary elements in this one, which is great. So yeah, I like how that how this one goes about its business, that's for sure. So yeah, malty side of things I think goes out very well, and I've said this quite often in reviews. I think the malty side of beers are often overlooked these days, which is a bit of a shame. Everyone's all about the hops and things, and the hops of course are very important, as is the yeast, but people forget the importance of having a solid malty backbone in these beers. It's very, very important. But yeah, the malty backbone of this one, classic West Coast paleo type one. This, I really like that, so thumbs up to Beerium for this. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, let's have a little look at that. So hoppy side of the beer, you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one, and I think the Mosaic is going to give you that. But yeah, definitely a little touch of earthiness there. There's a wee element of a kind of herbal quality, some nice big floral aromaticity as well, which I can certainly appreciate. So lovely big floral aromaticity in this one. It's not too kind of pungent or anything like that, and that would indicate that this beer doesn't have so much in the way of early edition hops. Remember, West Coast IPAs tend to have a lot more early edition hops than the New Englands do. Early edition hops are the ones that give you the bitterness and the big green components, of course. And as you go through the process of your wort boil, you've got a trade-off from early edition hops, where the later that you add them, the less bitterness you get and the more flavour and aroma that you get out of them. So yeah, the way that all goes together in this one is very, very nice. So you do have a nice kind of deep floral aromatic quality. This one you get a wee bit of spiciness as well. And remember, all of these hops besides Cascade are 10+% alpha acid, so they're going to give you a little bit of that for sure. So yeah, nice kind of deep floral aromatic note to this one, a little touch of spiciness as we say, then you've got a nice kind of juicy fruitiness in behind that, but you can get a little bit of a kind of citrusy zestiness to the grassy part on this beer. So I really like how that goes together in this one. The green component of this beer suits it very, very well. But yeah, on the fruity side of things, then I think we've said all we need to about the green side of the beer, but fruity side of things, you can definitely smell the Cascade backbone to this one. Cascade always gives you that little bit of grapefruit at the back, but then it gives you a nice kind of brighter, figgy, juicy kind of quality in there. But yeah, some oily passion fruity elements, which I can certainly appreciate. So yeah, some nice oily passion fruity elements, a little bit of a kind of a little bit of a lighter sort of juicy tangerine kind of thing out of this one. But yeah, I mean, I don't get too much of the Centennial in this, I have to say. That's the thing I'm thinking, is I don't get too much of the Centennial out of this. You know, you can smell that the beer is a little touch zestier on the grassy side of things, but you know, the Centennial sort of takes a back seat, at least in the aroma. But yeah, I got a lot of juicy tangerines from the Mosaic in this one. I can smell the Cascade, sort of that lighter figgy note quite clearly, and I get the kind of juicy sort of passion fruity notes from the Simcoe in this one. So that's interesting that Centennial takes a wee bit of a back seat in there. But yeah, lovely oily fruity character to this one. As I said, 100% this beer is a more West Coast type paleo rather than anything else. So yeah, take a bit of time to ponder over the aroma before you taste the beer, but I think it's about time we try this one now. So yeah, this is the Local Memory 5.3% American Paleo from Beerium Kraftölsbryggeri in Surte to the north of Gothenburg. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, cheers, and thank you to Eric once again. Yeah, that's pretty solid, absolutely. yeah, and it's again, it's quite true to the the old school West Coast things. So that's another positive in my opinion. I do miss the West Coast beers. We've got, I've got nothing against the New Englands, but other than the fact that there's a bit too many of them, that's the only thing I'd say about them. But yeah, this is a really, really solid West Coast Pale Ale, this one. I really like this. It'd be cool. They sent me an IPA. They've sent me a New England IPA and a West Coast IPA, so I'm curious to see what the West Coast one is like, because if it's anything like this, if it's like a big brother of this, I think it will be pretty damn solid. But yeah, this is very, very nice, this. So yeah, certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. This is a nice kind of session ale. But yeah, on the well, let's start off and just break down the flavour then, as we always do. So on the malty side of things then with this beer, straight away across the middle of your palate you get that nice kind of bread crusty backbone to the beer. Absolutely, you can feel that just forming the backbone of the beer. It's like that sort of wholemeal bready sort of thing. On top of that you get those nice kind of smooth kind of wholemealy brown bready elements there, so you can feel that just sitting on top of the of that there. It's quite a straight shooting malt base, this one. It's got nothing that you wouldn't expect from the Aroma, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, on that middle third of your palate, if you move forward to the if you move forward to the kind of front half of that middle third of your tongue, you definitely get one or two little tiny woody elements coming out of the beer, but those are very, very minimal. Bread crust, smooth brown bread, a little touch of white bread on top of that, I would say. But then in the middle of your palate, you get a nice kind of circle in there, so there's a wee bit of a kind of brown sugary sort of element to this one, and I like how that goes together as well. But yeah, there's a sweet sort of as I say, with this beer you've got a little bit of that kind of sweet caramelly element in there, but the caramel is sweetest in the dead centre of your palate, and of course that's where you get the kind of boozier elements of the beer. But yeah, as I say, there's a nice kind of oval there, and in the dead centre of your palate you've got quite a concentrated sweet caramel, and as you move further out from that it becomes a little bit more kind of toasty, and then out towards the kind of edges of the palate there you get a nice kind of more biscuity, you get a nice more kind of biscuity McVitie's digestive sort of thing with this one. So yeah, I do like how that goes together in this beer. Like I say, it's classic West Coast all the way. Nothing unexpected, just true to style, straight shooting, and I think that's what pale ale needs to be quite honest with you. It needs to be easy to drink, straight shooting, and true to the style, and this one delivers on that, and that is the middle third of your palate, I would say. So yeah, let's look at the other parts of the palate then. So border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you can feel a little bit of a bready build up there once again, one or two bread crusty elements of course. Then into the back third of your palate you can feel the sort of bready, the sort of bread crusty element there, and then a smoother bready note on top of it. But on top of those, this time you're getting the more kind of airy, yeasty type things in there, which are quite interesting. It is again just like a kind of fluffy, airy bread if you like. But as you start from the back of your palate, you can feel that the how would we say, the flavour, the sort of flight flavour of the beer, the height of it is a little bit taller, and as you move further forward you can feel that just condenses down a little bit as you go into the middle third of your palate, and the flavours are just a little bit more condensed and squashed together. But you do expect that. On the hoppy side of things then, I think we've covered the malty and yeasty side of the beer fairly well, but on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of a kind of earthy element in there, and like I say, I suspect that's from the mosaic, but the cascade will contribute to that a little bit too. But as you move further forward you get a little bit of a kind of herbal quality to this one, which I think is great. And as you move further forward towards the kind of front corners of the palate, you've got a very nice sort of floral aromaticity out of this one, and it does have a wee touch of spiciness to it as well, which I think is great. But yeah, around the front curve of your palate, then you get a little bit of a kind of more grassy, zesty quality to the beer, and it does have a fair wee bit of zest, and I think this is potentially the contribution of the Centennial in this one. I think that's given the beer just a little touch more zest. But yeah, the green component of this one is exactly kind of what you'd expect, but it's not madly bitter, of course, and that makes sense for a kind of modern take on the West Coast Pale Ale. I feel like a lot of the West Coast stuff has toned down on the bitterness in recent times, but it works. Anyway, front third of your palate then. Let's focus on the fruity side of things. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate. Again, there's a nice little bit of a bready quality to this one, a little bit of a bready, kind of bread crusty sort of thing there. Then the base of that front third of your palate is again those sort of smooth, bready elements to it. Then sitting on top of that, there's a nice kind of oily bubble there. You can feel that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer, and I really like how that goes together in this one as well. You can feel the Cascade backbone in this. I think Cascade has probably been used as the bittering hop in this beer, to be quite honest with you, because the Cascade fruitiness is the backbone of this one. So yeah, on top of that bready note that I was talking about, you can feel that nice, almost very lightly figgy kind of quality, and then the little bit of grapefruit at the very back of the front third of your palate. That's your Cascade in there. But on top of that, you get a nice, as you come further forward from that back end of the front third of your palate, you can feel there's a bit more of a kind of juicy passion fruity note in there, and as you go forward from that, into the front half of the front third of your tongue, you'll get a more oily, juicy, tangerine element out of this one, and just behind the front tip of your palate, there's a more lemony, zesty quality there as well. But yeah, all of the hops are contributing to this one. Like I say, Cascade is the base, Simcoe's at the back, Mosaic comes out, a little bit close to the front, and then the very tip of the tongue, that's when you're getting the Centennial and the kind of lemony and grassy, zesty sort of things. But yeah, like I say, it's solid West Coast Pale Ale, this one. I like how this goes together. So yeah, I think that covers it for the tasting part of the video then. So the mouthfeel, just to round off, it's a mid-bodied beer, this, straight in the middle of the spectrum, smooth carbonation, quite an oily slickness to it, which again you would want from a sort of more West Coast leaning pale ale, so I can appreciate that about the beer. And yeah, that works for it. In terms of IBUs, I think it said on the bottle that it was like 36. I think I might have said I might have guessed it was a bit less than that. Actually, I maybe would have thought this was 25 or something. But remember, my IBU counts are always it's my weakest point of beer reviewing. Actually, really need to get better at that, but it's a bit difficult to kind of train yourself in that particular regard. But yeah, always take my IBU counts, or IBU estimates I should say, with a bit of a pinch of salt. Been known to get those wrong. But yeah, the malty side of the beer, nice kind of smooth bready backbone to it, a little bit of an oily kind of sweet caramelly element in there as well, like we've said. And yeah, so the malt base has a good mix of smoothness and sweetness in there, and you've got some lovely kind of oily, juicy, fruity characters too. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer, I think, goes together very, very nicely. So yeah, it has everything you'd want from a West Coast IPA, nice, juicy, oily, fruity characters. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this review. So yeah, the dogs are here. As you see, someone's just coming home, so the dogs are going a bit mental. But yeah, good point to finish off then. But yeah, this one was the Local Memory 5.3% American Pale Ale, a West Coast Pale Ale, of course, from Beerium Kraftölsbryggeri in Surte to the north of Gothenburg. Once again, thank you to Eric for making this review possible, and you will see another 3 reviews from these guys appearing over the next little while. But thanks again. Check out my social media, check out their social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Beerium Kraftölsbryggeri, and we will return to these guys at some point soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and do make sure you check them out. See you soon.